Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be with you here again. Well, today is another webinar, and I hope that you had a wonderful time during the summer, since it's the beginning of the school year, and we do live in uncertain times, and we're not really sure how things are going to turn out, if there's going to be another quarantine. Today's session has to do with our students, and specifically the way we're going to teach them in class. And this will be affected, of course, of any potential, future quarantine. Now, allow me to share my presentation with you. And away we go. Okay, and here I am. All right, now, today's presentation has to do with students of the pandemic, guinea pigs or torchbearers of education. We've been through a lot, and throughout this summer, we were trying to recharge our batteries, and we're all afraid of what's going to happen throughout the school year. Hopefully, we don't have to resort to tactics of online learning. However, a lot of the things that we'll be discussing today can be used in in a physical presence, okay, in class. So without further ado, we will be starting this presentation, as it will be focusing on our students and the fact that they are the future pillars of society. So we must give them the chance to prove that to all of us. Okay, let's get things rolling. Okay, I'm not going to analyze our present predicament. You know what's going on. So we are going through a pandemic. Although I do wish that things are going to get better, and I am optimistic that they will be. Okay, in the case that things go wrong again, we have to keep in mind that our students' biological clocks, as well as our own, are going to be out of whack, and we would usually sleep at strange hours. And as a result, I remember having classes with my kids, virtual ones, and they kept on turning off their cameras. They were falling asleep, literally, because they didn't have enough time to, rest. So we just have to keep that in mind throughout this presentation. And we also have to keep in mind that, it's not their fault. Even before the pandemic, things weren't, that perfect. I mean, we had been through a financial crisis. This did affect, ourselves, our families, our kids, our students. And all of this is, affecting, is having a detrimental effect on our students. Something that we didn't, go through when we were young, but our kids are today, it has to do with social media pressure. And a lot of times I can see my kids frustrated, stressed about what they're going to post. They're even more stressed about this than the actual homework that I'm assigning them, which is horrible. Society has, transformed into this huge social media machine, and not being a part of it in many cases means that you are excluded from a lot of things in life, okay? And it's not our kids' fault, it's the way that things have become, and we have to keep that in mind as well. There's a lot of peer pressure to keep up with all these changes, a lot of competition, amongst our students, and of course, this is not healthy, okay? So having, revise all the drawbacks that are going on, we can, actually see what's going on in their minds, okay? Now, according to a survey by Young Minds.org, 81% of students now suffer from withdrawal, anxiety, and loneliness. This is 4 out of 5 kids. It's horrible. And of course, at least 1 out of 10 students, according to the survey, because I think they're much more than this, always have their cameras turned off and refuse to participate, okay? And this is something that in many cases, disappoints us, infuriates us. We can't have our lesson the way we want to. So this webinar is going to help you, counter these problems and, hopefully try to remedy, this whole situation. Now, as for the cameras themselves, there have been, there's been a lot of heated debate, okay, as regards, the legality of these claims. Is it legal or illegal to have the cameras turned on? I'm not, trying to affect anyone. I believe it's illegal because of the reasons that we'll explain below. First of all, a student, has insecurities with his or her appearance. I mean, they're teenagers, for God's sake. Of course, they're, stressed about how they look on camera. Now, I think that the most serious concern, which makes it kind of illegal, is the fact that a lot of kids are living in poverty. They don't want to show this to their classmates, to their teachers. They come to school with a smile on their faces, and we are not aware of what's going on at home. Now, exposing them by setting up cameras at home is, detrimental to their, mental stability. Of course, most of us have awkward family members when, when the kid's, grandfather walks by without, being completely ignorant to what's going on. And the fact that, the kids are having lessons is kind of awkward. Then, the kid is being made fun of by, his or her classmates. So we can understand why they would like to have their cameras turned off. So after, going through all this negative, analysis of what's going on, let's start being a bit more optimistic. It's time to take action. And I purposely chose this picture of a young girl, a student, online, on her computer, and she's smiling because this is what we want to achieve. We are going to implement new scholastic approaches. These are some of the things that we're going to examine today. We want them to take the initiative because students feel like we have deprived them of their freedom, which is actually true. And they want to take things and matters, back in their hands and take control of their lives. By doing so, we will motivate them not only as students, but as human beings, as members of society. And of course, we will try to promote critical thinking. I keep stressing this in my articles, in all the webinars, and the online trainings that I'm doing. This is something that kids lack. It's not their fault, but we are here to pass on the torch, no pun intended, and we want them, to become, fully educated, well-rounded individuals. Concerning this presentation, first of all, we are going to look at ways of empowering our students through various forms of engagement. We are going to implement unconventional approaches to spark interest and stimulate participation. Most of them work. I've tried them myself. We're going to experiment and reflect on what works and what doesn't. And finally, we will tailor the lesson to the students' needs. Okay, according to their age, the level, okay, and of course, their mental state. Finally, after these 4 major chapters, we are going to have a discussion at the end. And as a teacher, I would like to know what you think. And if you have any ideas that, we can all share, which would be wonderful. Let's start off with the first chapter, empowerment. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but social media has both its benefits and its drawbacks. A lot of people say that it's mostly, detrimental. However, we're going to take advantage of the benefits. Now, not only the pandemic, but our ever-evolving society has isolated us. Even before the pandemic, we see our kids, fiddling with their phones and, just sending messages. They don't want to play anymore. They don't want to go out. This has changed, however, ever since we've been completely isolated. People want to go out even more than before. Now, we're going to use social media, educational platforms, and any other means to bring our kids closer together. First of all, what I always recommend, group projects in and out of class. Just by assigning them an exercise that they have to do individually will not bring them closer together because kids have to socialize. If they don't, their mental state will deteriorate even more. Split them into groups in class during a virtual lesson, or if they're doing their homework, do it again. Assign them homework that will be, completed only by, having them work as partners, okay? Now, you have to allow them to socialize in waiting rooms. For example, if it's a break, just leave the computer on, let them chat. If they're kind of embarrassed, place them all in a break room, okay? And just don't interfere, okay? Disconnect yourself from them, let them talk, all right? It will help them blow off steam. It's going to help them tremendously. Establishing routines and schedules. This is something that we have to implement in every lesson. If you start off with a song at the beginning of a lesson to cheer them up, do this every time. You have a specific routine. of, having 2 or 3 breaks. Please adhere to this program. Do not stray from this path. By sticking to specific routines, it will give them a sense of stability. And this is what we want with our kids right now. Show and tell will be presented twice in this presentation. The first one, this one here, has to do with the social implications. First of all, show and tell will bring kids closer together, and they'll bring us closer together as well as students and teachers. What does show and tell do? Since we're locked up, in our rooms, and many a time we kind of feel distant even though we're looking at each other. So one of my kids, might ask me what this picture is here. I'll tell them this was one of my classes like 3 years ago. Or they might, talk about my clothes or anything. Now, by asking each and every one of your students to show something that is dear to them or something that they love very much, by showing it on the camera, automatically the classmates and the teacher will feel, more closer to the student, okay? And it's what we call breaking the social ice, right? It's making them feel more comfortable in front of the camera instead of being, this kind of apathetic group of people working together. So we have to take advantage of technology as much as we can. Social media has helped us go through this pandemic, and yes, it is beneficial if it's used properly. And the last thing is to use this technology to express your compassion and support. Try to remember that we are teachers. Doesn't matter if we're far away from our students. Send them a message in a group chat. I'm here for you. How are you doing? How was your day? It's very important for them to know that you care about them. Even if they don't, answer to you directly, they know that you're thinking about them. Okay, now, let's see what students have to say. First of all, let's read what Janice Aragon said. She is an 11th grade student from Brentwood High School in New York. Schools need to be doing more than just posting hotlines on the Teams page, and instead reaching out to students who are struggling because of the pandemic, struggling with academics or socially, mentally. There needs to be more outreach from educators. It's what I just said. There are some students who are indifferent. They don't care about the lesson. They just need support. If you support them online, they will respond. Okay, they will reciprocate, these feelings. And this was conducted by PBS.org, okay, a survey. Now, let's look at what another student said. Okay, this will kind of baffle you. This is from Ala Abdelhalim, I hope I pronounced that correctly, 9th grade from Dominion High School in Virginia. I was so used to having my teachers teaching in front of me. So when they weren't right in front of me, I just felt like I didn't really have anything holding me accountable to my work. And I didn't really treat it like real school. So I would procrastinate a lot. We can't blame Ala because most of us would do the same thing. In her case, in her shoes, I would have probably done the same thing, even though I'm a teacher. The way that each and every one of us respond to things that are out of control, out of our hands, like a pandemic, we should respect the way that every person reacts, okay, and should not be reprimanded for the way they're thinking. Now, one of the ways in order to counteract, this perception of things, messaging, emails, messages through the school learning platform. Most schools have, utilized platforms such as Microsoft Teams, Google, Hangouts. We have Zoom. We have so many, platforms. Take advantage of these platforms, send messages, even, if it's not during the lesson, try to collaborate with parents, ask the parents, how is my student doing? They might say, not that good. The kid looks stressed. Okay, I'll send, your son or your daughter a message. Show genuine concern as regards the projects or their assignments as well. How's your project? Are you okay with your homework? Do you need any help? I know this takes up a lot of our time. I know it's even more stressful for us, but if you are able to help out your students, a fellow human being, that's highly commendable. Now, I would like to share this final student with you. She's a true inspiration. Her name is Alexandra, an 8th grade student from Novi Middle School in Michigan. I was thinking about doing a lot of different jobs before the pandemic, and I think a teacher had always been an idea. But I think watching the teachers, especially at my school, interact with students and teachers, even as we were through Zoom, was really inspiring. Because even though we weren't in class, they were still trying to reach out and make the best of the situation. I think that's what I would want to do, to be able to make that connection between a teacher and a student. So in this case, our efforts, everything that we've been through has inspired her to become a teacher as well. As I said, the reactions are mixed, and you can never know how a person, will react to a situation. Okay, now the problem with social media and these support connections, be cautious and professional. Every single word we utter, everything we said is being filtered by everyone, by students, by parents. In our attempt to show support, there might be misunderstandings, okay, and some messages might seem personal, okay, if you get my meaning. So always be careful of what you're saying online, even though we have the best of intentions. Now, social media platforms are useful, but should be used in a way that will promote personal interaction. So for example, if a student wants, to send you a message concerning an assignment, that's more than welcome. Okay, we want this. So it's something that we should foster. Now, speaking of foster, if at some point during the lesson they are off topic and start talking about their own personal matters, play along with them in English. Okay, it would be better to play along with them instead of reprimanding them. If, for example, they talk about a basketball game that happened the day before and they're excited about it, show genuine concern. So who won, guys? And ask them in English, of course, okay. After about a minute or so of talking with them, they will willingly continue the lesson. But if you reprimand them from the start, they'll turn off their cameras, they're not going to talk to you. Okay. Now, if they need assistance in, their homework, you can't be online all the time. They will appreciate, however, if you inform the parents or the students that, everyone, every Friday from 4 to 6, I'm online. You can send me emails, messages if you need help, with your homework or any questions regarding your assignments. They will appreciate it. And trust me, when I applied this method, I always had at least 10 to 15 messages during a 2-hour time that I, gave them so that they can contact me. It was really useful. Okay, now the bottom line is show them that you're still your teacher and you care about them. I mean, that's the most important of all. Okay, let's go to the second chapter. Now, this webinar is going to get really interesting. However, we just had to get all the bad stuff out of the middle, okay, out of the way. Now, how do we spark interest and stimulate participation? Take advantage of your surroundings. Okay, we're locked up in our houses. Well, okay, hopefully this doesn't happen again, but we're trying to be prepared, okay, because personally, I don't think I can go through another quarantine. Now, take advantage of your surroundings. Let's say that they're in their rooms, okay? They have their wardrobe, their desk, there are items around them that they can use, okay, for their lesson, for show and tell, for anything. So first of all, you can use items for a guessing game. They can show part of the item, or they can show all of it if it's kind of confusing. And have the kids have this game in class. What is this? This is, I don't know, it's my father's slippers, okay? Okay, all right. And yes, this is the part where we're going to implement show and tell again as an educational aspect, not as a social connecting mechanism. In this case, as an educational aspect, we're going to use objects. Okay, this is my favorite doll, for example. This is my favorite doll. This is Melanie from my latest book, The Show Must Go On. Okay, so you can use it for speaking, and imagine all the kids sharing something in class. It would be wonderful for them. And of course, it's quite entertaining. All right, now let's move on. Have stretching breaks. Instruct them in English. Okay, now, what do we call stretching breaks? Imagine that your kids are like this on the camera. They seem tired. It's inhumane to have someone sit in front of a camera for more than 15 to 20 minutes. So what is a really nice piece of advice? Tell them to have a 1-minute break. Come on, guys, we're going to stretch our arms and our legs, and we're going to run around the bed, for example. I'm not joking. It's like Simon says, okay, but in this case, it's going to be held in their bedrooms. And of course, They get to learn some new words. Okay, they practice body language, and of course, they feel much more energized after that, and they'll continue the lesson, with a lot more, how can I say this? Okay, eagerness. Now, another thing is that, okay, we're not actors, all right? And the thing is that when we're in class, kids actually, take notice of our body language, the way we move, the way we write on the board. If we are reading, to the board, or if we're taking, slow steps, they'll understand our mood. Now, because they're looking at us on a camera, they don't actually understand what's going on in our minds and, what we have in store for them. Now, if there's something exciting, you have to use bigger expressions, facial expressions, gestures, everything. And if you don't do this, like I am right now, you don't understand, the gravity of the situation. I mean, you have to show them that what we're saying is important. Okay, let's move on. Now, art projects and creative photo competitions. This is another idea that, we implemented in class. I actually, asked an elementary class that I had, right, to take pictures. And we had this photo competition. And, they shared the pictures in our group chat. And, we had a competition and, voted for the best picture. It was really inspiring. Actually, some of the pictures were amazing and they were taken in their bedrooms. Script rating. I love script rating. It's like doing theatrical performances. I give them text from known poems, plays. It might be unfamiliar text. And, we read them on the spot, like a 5-minute exercise. And we use facial expressions and, intonation. And, they love it. They love it. They love when they do these theatrical, plays. And this has to do with all ages. So, hand puppets. If you're familiar with hand puppets, I wish I had mine with me right now. I have a puppet called Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street. And, it's the green little guy that used to live in, the trash can. And it's a fantastic way of having your kids turn on their cameras, because if they don't want to show their faces for whatever reason, I had my junior class and they were using hand puppets that they themselves created. They took a sock and put eyes on it. And, when they were answering me, they were using the sock. And, it was better than nothing instead of not answering or not turning on the camera. And, slowly they would, grow out of it and, keep the cameras on. So there are so many techniques that we can use to inspire them. Now, the video of the day, you can show them a video of the day. Keep it as a surprise at, for the end of the lesson. Would you like to have them watch a small cartoon of about 1 or 2 minutes? Would you like to have them, for example, I don't know, watch a small documentary? There's so many videos, documentaries that are like 1 or 2 minutes that do not drag the lesson, and they actually look forward to it. As I mentioned earlier, breakout rooms for peer work. Okay, when you assign them an exercise during lesson, it might be a 5-minute exercise, and tell them that I'm going to surprise you with your partner. So everyone's like excited, who am I going to be with? Okay, so you put them in their breakout rooms. Does this work for all, classes? I tried it with a lot of classes, didn't work with all of them, but it did work with some. Now, the whole idea, and this is something we'll be discussing later on, we're going to see what works, what doesn't, and where you should, keep insisting. Now, the last thing I want to say is to invite guest speakers. Before the pandemic, I had a tendency to invite, police officers, firefighters, magicians to class. They loved it. You can still do the same online. It's actually easier for them to connect for like 5 or 6 minutes and, explain what they do. It's a welcome break. It would help them, escape what they're, thinking about at that moment and, get to know something new and different. All right, updating your content. We do this anyway. We're teachers. We always update our material, do the same in electronic form. If you have, new exercises, share them, online, new PowerPoint presentations, find videos. There's a lot of potential, with virtual classes. And there's so many things that are easier for us to share with our kids than ever before. So one example is that if you're in class, you have to use your USB stick, try to find that slot, behind like 20, 30 cables, and kids, yanking your dress. Come on, we have to start, teacher. Now at home, at least, you have everything pre-prepared and you can, with a click of a button, start a presentation or a video. Now, share blog posts, start a discussion. This is incredible. I've actually, used a lot of blog posts about makeup, fashion, sports. I just show them one or two paragraphs. I let them read it. And this is a conversation starter, okay, especially for the older, kids. And they love it a lot. Podcasts. I have them listen to podcasts. And I also hand them assignments. It works. Okay. There are podcasts that are like only 4 or 5 minutes. There are larger ones. You can choose segments and, have them discuss it. Kids have this feeling of, being rebellious. If they think that they are, not following the course book for 4 or 5 minutes, they think that they're achieving something, when in reality, by assigning them, different work, they're still learning English. And, that's the whole purpose of what we're doing. We're teachers, we're teaching them. Doesn't matter what kind of material we're using. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to finish the course book. Okay, debating emerging trends and practices. I love teasing my kids, all of them. I'm like, oh my God, that singer is horrible. And when in reality, she might be a good singer. What are you saying, miss? She's really good. And I'm like, why? Tell me, what do you like about this singer? And so you start, making them, really energetic and, passionate about their ideas, and they try to explain to you. There's so many things, to spark their interest and, have them wake up in class. As for advice, okay, don't stress over completing the course material. This is something I keep telling, in webinars and in presentations. Yes, the school owners and, the principals oblige us to finish it. It's like having a gun to our head, but it doesn't matter. If you can finish like 95% of the book, that's perfect, because it's better to finish 90% of the book and have your kids comprehend what they were taught instead of finishing 100% and having them, a lot of gaps in their educational learning. Because if they are indifferent in class, okay, I mean, either way, finishing the book would mean nothing. It's pointless. So any degree of participation is of the utmost importance. We have to stress this as much as possible. Now, let's go to the third part, experimenting and reflecting on what works and what doesn't. Well, keep track of your activities. Make a list of what you've tried. Okay. Try to have this list and, examine how many things have you tried in class, what you would like to try in class, because there are numerous things you can do, 30, 40 things at least on an online virtual lesson. Now, don't reject what didn't work, because their daily moods can change. One day you could have tried something and you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to try this again. But when you try it again, after 2 weeks, it will be a huge success. So don't, just disregard things. Also, something that worked with one class, with one specific level, might not work with another, or vice versa. So something that you prepared for one class, you can, alter the level of difficulty and use it at another level. And the whole idea is to give it another shot. Don't be disappointed by something that you have just tried. Just bear in mind, if there was an announcement that there's going to be an extension of the quarantine for another 2 months, how do you think your kids would react? They wouldn't care what you've prepared, for lesson. So that's what I mean, give it another shot, okay, when they're feeling better. And of course, keep track of the things that produce positive results. If you're absolutely sure it's something that's beneficial and useful, do it again. However, enhance it before it becomes redundant, because if they do the same thing over and over, they're going to be bored of it. Try to change the content of it. I think that honesty is the best. I was honest with my kids, my junior class, and I told them that I'm going to try something new. And they were like, okay, miss, let's see what you're going to do. They were, really supportive. And then I was welcoming feedback. Did you like it, guys? No. And it was horrible, but they were honest. They were honest, but they were supportive. Thank you, though. I mean, it was great. And it's nice because our students are the ones that are going to help us improve as teachers. So you have to be open to suggestions at any point. And of course, share experiences with your colleagues. Now, you're going to tell me that we used to do this before the pandemic. Yes, continue doing so. Exchange emails. Explain to each other what worked in class and what didn't. You'd be surprised about some of the amazing ideas you can hear from your colleagues. Okay, now, tailoring the lesson to the student's needs. What do we mean by this? Inspire their critical thinking while practicing new language elements. Okay, how are we going to do this? Describing and commenting on videos. Or you can use online worksheets that supplement the lesson in a creative and entertaining way. For the purposes of this presentation, I have applied some worksheets from the British Council that you can find online, and I'm going to share the link at the end. So how are we going to use all these factors in lesson? Let me show you. For example, one of the worksheets for the younger levels that I found, which is online, you can find it as well, has to do with a treasure hunt. Yes, you heard that correctly. Let's say that they're locked in their rooms, having a lesson, have them, conduct a treasure hunt in their houses. I'll give you 5 minutes, guys. Try to find as many of these items as you can in your house. So, they start, ticking things. I found a flower, a plant, a tomato. One of them actually ticked bird and they showed me the canary on screen. They brought the whole cage. I was crazy. Okay. And it's amazing how many items you can find at home. And they were excited. Now, the rest of the worksheet, okay, they had to write some English words that they can find in the house. My kids were ecstatic. They were going nuts. And they were like, teacher, it only has 6 blanks here. I want to add 20 words. I'm like, okay, do it underneath. And they were happy. They were running around in their houses and they were having an English lesson. Okay, and as you can see, the last exercise has to do with prepositions. All right, so there are a lot of little silly things that you can do during lesson. This is a one-page sheet from the British Council. So easy, we had an amazing time for like 10 minutes. I use this one with the older kids. So inventing a country. Yes, invent a country. At first, my kids in elementary class, they were kind of bored. So I was like, okay, what would you call your country? So they came up with these ridiculous names. But after that, they started being invested in it. And, they chose the capital, the currency, weather, geography, food, traditions, activities. Imagine, filling out these 7, elements. It was really constructive. And they had a good time in the end. This is something that I use, with my junior kids. They had, this worksheet about sea creatures because we were learning about the ocean in junior B class. And they chose a sea creature and started describing it. Okay, it was really productive. This example, I'll be honest, I didn't have the opportunity to use this worksheet. I hope I never do. If I actually do, I want to do it, with the physical presence of my kids. This has to do with flowers and gardening. Now, if you look at the picture, I know the letters are kind of tiny. It has, seed, soil, sun. So we're seeing the whole process of planting a seed and, having it blossom into a flower. Air, rain, roots, stem, they learn vocabulary. Leaf, bud, flower. Oh, it's great. Imagine having your kids, with their own pots, next to the desk, watering their plants. They'll probably overdo it and, use too much water, but it doesn't matter. Okay. The whole idea is to make them have a good time and learn at the same, time. Okay. So something that I always do with my B2 level kids, C2 level, I mean, they love this. We watch and comment a video. I might share with them a 2-minute video of their favorite basketball player. Okay. And I have them comment on it and they go crazy. They love it. So you ask them to describe what is going on and you have them express their feelings. This is something that I highly endorse. It had amazing results in all of my certificate classes. You can take it a step further. For example, turn off the sound and have them narrate what they can see. This was difficult for some kids, but they wanted to do it. So what is he doing? He's beating the eggs, for example, okay, or he's baking the cake. All right, there's so many things that you can do to inspire your kids just by having, the sound off. And then you can play the video again if you want with the sound on. Speaking of which, have the students listen to an interview of a celebrity, a sports athlete, anything. We are going to listen to an interview. It's only about 1 minute and 20 seconds, okay? It's a short interview. And we would highly advise our students to take notes as they listen to it. Okay, this is from a video interview on YouTube. I've isolated the sound, so allow me to start it for you. Please be aware of your earphones. Okay, I hope it's not too loud. Be very careful. Thank you.
How old are your girls now?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've been around the world working.
Yeah.
Probably older than the last time you saw
Probably,
them.
yeah. No, they're 4 and 2.
Oh my
4 and 2.
gosh. Oh,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
I know.
That's a good separation, right?
It's
because
a pretty,
they'll be buddies.
yeah, it is pretty good separation. Yeah, they do. They take care of each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
They love each other. It's great.
And are they into anything in particular? Are they dramatic? Are they into dress up? Or are they
Knives? A lot of knives.
Yeah.
No, they're my older daughter's like super into movies and television, like Pikachu. She's super excited about.
Yeah.
My younger daughter Inez, she's 2. She's like really into villains. That's like her thing. Like we watch Beauty and the Beast. Like her favorite character is Gaston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
She's
like,
dark-sided.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Our pediatrician, when she met Inez, she said, "Oh, this one's shady." And like even the other day when we were traveling back home, we were at the airport, and out of our whole family, she's the only one that got the secondary security pat down.
At 2 years,
2 years old.
All right, so what is
And
this
she-
shady 2-year-old up
But
to?
she just like takes it like a hardened felon. Like she's just like
Search me. So,
she's like turning around like while like a thin fart escapes. You're just like, what is happening here?
why was she stopped by airport security?
She's 2. I don't know. She's not a mule. I don't know what the hell. She's 2. Like, okay, it was really, they're like, you have to be next to her because we need to do a little pat down. I was like, all right,
God.
great. I think they probably just saw a Hollywood guy and they're just like,
Oh, we're gonna
he
get-
like, he
Yeah.
shoved some terrible drugs into this kid's chest or something. And I was like, all right.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Now, you can have your kids evaluate, all right, what the interview was about. Okay, ask them, do you know who it was? In this case, it was Ryan Reynolds. Now, you can have like this little test of about 4 multiple choice questions. Ask them, how many daughters does Ryan have? How old are they? What happened? So you'll have a lot of, opinions about, what they just heard. But I think it would be better to sign a project and, write like an essay or do a project, a presentation about their favorite actor. In this case, if they actually like Ryan Reynolds. The second time you can play it again, however, you can play it on YouTube and ask them, did you actually catch the meaning of this interview? If we had shown the interview right away on YouTube, they would have seen the title. Ryan Reynolds' 2-year-old daughter got stopped at an airport. Okay, just by looking at the title, it would give away the whole point of this exercise. And it's not about listening comprehension, it's about reading. And of course, before showing them this picture, you can ask them questions such as, did you understand that there were 3 people speaking? Did you understand that it had to do with someone, searching Ryan Reynolds' daughter at the airport? Okay, this is listening comprehension. All right, now you can actually, implement this exercise in so many ways. I mean, you can incorporate news, radio genres, stories, podcasts. You can have them listen to anything, spark their imagination. Hopefully they'll understand, what they're listening to. Songs, music, video clips. There's so many things that you can share with them. Thanks to technology, our lessons can improve both in and out of class, okay? Now, this is one of the things that I use in class. I use trailers from films, and I would ask them afterwards, after seeing a 2-minute trailer, would you be interested in watching this film? Yes or no? Why or why not? Do you like Sandra Bullock? What are your favorite actors? Have them, start a conversation in class. By the way, this is one of my favorite films. Sandra Bullock is a goddess in this film. And I have a little surprise for you at the end of this presentation. So just keep that in mind. Now, the whole idea is to try to have fun during lesson, even if we're, at home, even if there's a quarantine. Share entertaining and educational videos with them. This is highly important. This educational video has to do with Shelby Young. She is a Disney voice actress, and TikTok, even though I am not fully in favor of TikTok, it does have some educational videos. And this is actually from TikTok. And the words that are used in this video, because there's subtitles as well, actually helps kids learn more vocabulary. There are a lot of words that they weren't familiar with. Now, because I'm actually sure that you're curious to see what we're going to watch, this is like a 3-minute video. It's worth it. I highly recommend that you use it in class. After watching the video, I had my kids, play with voices, and they actually learned new vocabulary. Raise the tone of your voice, your pitch, okay, sound louder. I'll let you enjoy the video.
I start with my voice very high to be Snow White. Now if I lower it a bit, I add an accent, and it must be awfully important, like a party or something. Mr. Rabbit, wait! I'm Alice. Now if I keep this accent, but I lower my tone a bit more mature. Marie, you must stop there. That is very unladylike. I'm the Duchess from Aristocats. Now if I lower my tone even more, I turn to a mid-Atlantic accent. I speak a bit breathier. So this is love. I'm Cinderella. Now I take my finger off the phone. That added to the vintage quality. I get rid of this accent. I'm a little perkier, and I'm Tour Guide Barbie. Please keep your hands, arms, and accessories inside the car, and no flash photography. Thank you.
Girls, come on, leave the saving the world to the men? I don't think so. So for Elastigirl, she's got this S thing going on. I keep my mouth pretty tight. She's got a bit of a drawl. I'm gonna loosen my mouth, lose the S. I'm gonna lean into the drawl, pitch my voice up a little bit, and I'm gonna say, yeah, no, I don't really do mud. Ironic, isn't it? And it's Rosetta from Tinkerbell. Now I'm gonna lower my voice a bit. I'm gonna change my accent over to a British accent. I'm gonna be super out of breath. I've been telling a crazy story, and Daddy, they took my boots. And it's Jane from Tarzan. Now I'll keep the British accent. I'm gonna do my vintage trick. I'm gonna pitch my voice up higher, be younger, and say, ladies, do not start fights, but they can finish them. And it's Marie from the Aristocats. Now I'm gonna lose the accent. I'm gonna keep my voice young, and I'm gonna yell out, are you sure this water's sanitary? Looks pretty questionable to me. And it's Tantor. Swimming out to sea! And I'm the fish from Finding Nemo. I'm gonna keep this braces down here. I'm just gonna make my voice a little younger, and I'm gonna say, oh, you don't have to worry about one single thing, Mrs. Parr. I've got this babysitting thing wired. And I'm Kari from The Incredibles. Now I'm gonna lose this lisp. I'm just gonna sound peppier, and I'm gonna say, this is awkward. Not that you're awkward, but just because I'm awkward, you're gorgeous. Wait, what? And I'm Anna from Frozen. Now I'm gonna do my vintage trick. I'm going to cover the phone. I'm gonna add a little breathiness to my voice, add an accent as well, and say, but Peter, how do we get to Neverland? And I'm Wendy. I'm gonna lose the accent, lose the finger, and I'm gonna sing in a slightly villainous tone, and I'm gonna sing, what a lovely little bride, I'll make my dear all look divine. Things are working out according to my ultimate design. Soon I'll have that little mermaid, and the ocean will be mine. And I'm Vanessa. This is it. This is a very big day, Pascal. So Rapunzel has a slight lisp and this nasal quality. I'm gonna lose the lisp, I'm gonna hold on to the nasal quality, and now I'm Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Good morning, I've come to return the book I borrowed. Now I'm gonna hold on to this nasal quality still, but I'm going to lower my tone. I'm gonna talk a little slower, more sarcastic, Wonder Boy. My friends call me Meg, at least they would if I had any friends. Now I'm gonna lower my voice even more, lose this nasal quality, talk a little more theatrically, and I'm Mother Gothel. Great. Now I'm the bad guy. Now I want to stay a bad guy, but I'm going to squeeze my throat, and all of a sudden I'm Yzma. Pull the lever, Kronk. Wrong lever!
Okay, she is amazing. She's amazing. And the thing is that, okay, my kids learned this new trick, doing a vintage, recording by putting their finger on the microphone. And the thing is that they learned, things like pitching voice, and they were practicing, during lesson. It was funny because I said, okay, guys, we have to continue the lesson. They said, please play it again. So I played it a second time, and then they wanted me to play it a third time, but I did it during break. And we had a wonderful time. And I've actually used this video in like a multitude of classes of various levels. So this is just one educational video. There are thousands online, okay? And you can learn things and at the same time have, a lot of fun. Okay, now it's that time. Okay, it's discussion time, and I'm open to any questions that you might have. And hopefully, because I'm a teacher as well, I'd like to hear your ideas about, how to inspire, entertain, and stimulate their minds, during lesson. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. On behalf of ELT News Webinars, I'd like to thank you. Here are the links to various sources of information that I used throughout this webinar, and of course the videos. Let me remind you that the girl that we watched at the end is called Shelby Young. You can find her on TikTok and of course on other social media platforms as well. And of course, you can find us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find us online on eltnews.gr, flforum.gr, or just send an email at info@eltnews.gr. Now, I have this party gift for you now that we've come to an end. There's this song from the film that I mentioned earlier of Sandra Bullock, which is probably one of my favorite songs ever. And it's called Chances, Five for Fighting. And the whole idea of this webinar is to give our kids another chance because it was deprived from them. Okay, they are the pillars of society, and we would like them, to lead us into a new age. Okay, so thank you for being with us, and please enjoy the song. Careful of your earphones. Okay, I hope it's not too loud. Goodbye, everyone.